Hi, and welcome to another episode of the People Hum interview series. I'm Aishwarya Jain from the People Hum team. People Hum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM, that's specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the People Hum blog and channel that receives more than 400,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. So I have Bunmi Akano. Bunmi is credited with over 15 years' experience within the aviation industry. She has served in customer service and human resources roles for organizations such as Virgin Nigeria and Greater Washington Limited. Bunmi holds the Senior Professional of Human Resources International certification from the HRCI USA. She is a member of SHRM and an associate of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. She is also a John Maxwell certified speaker, trainer, and coach. She is very passionate about human resources and seeks to drive organizational success by influencing its leaders to maintain a strong and positive culture and value-based environment where people will thrive. Welcome, Bunmi. I'm so happy to have you.
Hi, Aish. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Of course. So, Bunmi, let's rewind a little bit and go a little bit back in time. If you could tell us a little bit about your background, what have you been up to so far, and how is it that you developed an interest in human resources and everything that it entails?
All right. I think I would say, thanks for that. I think I would say my career sort of just, there was a flow. So I didn't at the beginning, I was going to find myself in HR. I, in fact, studied microbiology, and my mom, who lived in the States for so many years, for about 20 years, wanted me to come to the States. She wanted me to continue my career in the sciences. So I was working as a fertility as an embryologist at a point in time, but it was sort of boring, lab apart from your samples. And so I got bored, and I knew I couldn't do that long term. And so I moved to aviation industry. At that point in time, Richard Branson, who is the face behind, set up this airline with the Nigerian government, and I had to be a part of that. Very exciting for me. It immediately took me out of the quiet laboratory into a very noisy space, which is the airports. And the airports, people are always coming and going. I remember I was shocked for about two weeks working at the airport. It was so noisy, so different from, but I was doing customer service. And I think that was when I started people, because I now had to learn a lot about customer service skills, emotional intelligence. Sometimes you have delayed flights and you still have to be really nice to the very passengers. And after some years doing that, I sort of looked at the organogram, and I looked at the person at the top of the organogram, and I told myself, I don't want to grow to become this role. The operational director role didn't pique my interest. And so that was when I started thinking about what was next. And an opportunity came up within the organization at that point in time for a sort of administrative role, which was more of just an office administrator. In that role, I got exposed to a bit of HR. It wasn't called HR. It was just something as simple as taking leave forms from the employee at the airport that I was working at. I did a bit of procurement, I did a bit of finance, managing invoices. And I would just say that it was administrative role that I started really thinking of what next. And it was going into procurement, because I used to handle some of the things that we use, some of the samples that we use at the airport then, or going accounts or HR. And I think HR just really appealed to me. But before I could transition, that company closed down, and I was at home for, I think, about 2-3 months. And I just saw a HR advert vacancy on BlackBerry, then when we had, and I applied. I would say that I applied and I got the role, even though the MD at the point when he was interviewing me didn't believe, in me. He said, oh, you don't have HR skills. Why should I hire you? Why did the head of HR telling me to come and see me. But I think he just gave me the opportunity. I told him I could work really hard and I can work hard. That was what I told. Yes, I don't have the HR experience you're looking for, but I can work really hard. And so he gave me a chance, and I think the rest, as they say, is history. So it wasn't like I wanted. It wasn't like I was thinking I was going to be in HR. But that also started first with having an interest to say, okay, I now want to practice human resources. So I think sometimes out something into the universe. I would also say that I prayed, I asked God that I now want to practice HR. Can you please give me a HR job? And that came to pass. And it's been a wonderful time so far. It's been amazing. It's been amazing.
Wow, that is so inspiring, Bunmi, from being a microbiologist to somebody who's now into HR. Those are such diverse roles. You just went from one end of the spectrum to another.
Completely.
Yeah, but I think it's changed you as a person, and I know you're a lot about relationships. So it only, I think, serves you right to be in that field of human resources. And I also know that, you value culture a lot. I know that you do believe that culture eats every strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So no matter how much dynamism you get to the table, how much you strategize, it's a lot about the kind of culture you set. And you've worked at so many workplaces now. I think you do have a lot of expertise in understanding different diverse cultures as well. So I'd really love to know, what should talent that's coming from outside and is looking at an organization, how would you advise these candidates to look for in a company who want to, join it? So before they do that, what are some certain tips or things that they should be looking at when it comes to a new workplace?
All right, thank you very much. Yes, indeed, I have quite some experience with diverse work cultures, but it's quite irregular. One that most do not value is a toxic work culture, one that is sort of intense and hostile. And we have quite a number of those, depending on the climate that we find ourselves. And I mean, that's a different conversation entirely. But typically speaking, I have noticed that employees thrive in places, and not just that it has been studied, and there's a lot of white paper on that. People typically thrive where their work is appreciated and where they can bring their best selves to work. So things like fear, things like people, disrespect, yelling, those kind of things do not allow people to sort of bring their best selves to work. It's very I'm at ease when I'm at work. It's very important that I am myself when very important that I feel honored, valued, and respected. And I don't mean that somebody needs to roll out a red carpet for me to walk on every time. It just means that I am not made to feel less than a human being whilst I'm at work. I have experienced these different types of workspaces, so I sort of can tell some of the things that people should look out for. But then there's another part of the conversation recently with some people, some group, and I told them that before you take an offer, try and do some research. Try and ask questions, and if you are in certain circles, 1, 2, 3 phone calls might reveal to you or might give you answers to some of those questions that you're looking out for. So if you ask someone, do you know personally, by the time you make a few phone calls, you'll be able to get an insight into the person that the company or the person that you're going to work with. So let me give you an example. Before I took up the flour mills job, I did ask questions. I was coming in as a manager anyway. So it wasn't just that this was an entry-level role for me. I needed to understand or have an idea of my line and the company in itself. And I asked questions and I got absolutely great, reviews. So in the absence of getting direct one-on-one intel like that, one of the things that I would say is, first of all, find out with the values of the company that you're working for. And I'll give you an example here, Aish. When I was going to work for Virgin Nigeria, Richard Branson, there's a lot of fun vibes. And I don't know if you've caught that about him. There's a lot of fun vibes around his personal brand. And that sort of projects into the Virgin Nigeria brand, that company that I worked on. So much so that one of our was actually fun. One of our fifth value was fun. Yes, it was. And so we were very known for throwing parties. We're known for doing, just having fun, really like an informal culture that that we weren't so uptight about the kind of clothes. You can have dreadlocks on. It wasn't like the banking industry, which is a little bit more formal in Nigeria. So those kind of little things are things that you want to find. If you are a very relaxed person, for example, would you want to go work for a bank? Typically more, uptight and are typically more conservative in the way that their brand. So that would be that would be one of the things. And then, does the culture of the organization suit your personality? I think that also goes with the values. What kind of things are important to you? Are you respect? Some people are not so big on respect. They're just, let me come in there, do my work, and then let me get paid for it. But is respect something that is important to you as an individual, for example? Is integrity important for you as an individual? There are some organizations that would want you to do some shady, organizations that would want you to sort of forge documents and do that. That might war against who you really are. The kind of things that you want to, and I know and I understand that you may not necessarily have all this information from the perspective of an outsider. Sometimes you only really know everything until you get in, but maybe ask questions. Sometimes just even looking at the organization's website and some of the things, the kind of things that they do, responsibility, how they show up, might give you an idea if you don't even have access to ask those deep questions. You want to look at the team that you're going to be working with. Like I told you, I found out about my line manager, and all I heard great, amazing things about him. And that has been the case. I have enjoyed working with this individual. He is an amazing, just simply amazing. He used to be the president of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. So, I mean, it was easy to know that this will be a great leader. And you want to find out about the team that you work with. What kind of people are they? And sometimes it's just as simple as going on their LinkedIn profile and checking out the trail of their work. Do you think there are people that you can from? Are there people that have a good trail? And then does the organization have what does the organization have for you in terms of career growth? Are you going to learn in this organization? Are your managers or your leaders going to value your contributions? Also, you want to look at the top leadership as well. Who is the CEO? Who is the chairman? Does the person have a scandal, for example? And do you want to associate yourself with such? How has this person leadership impacted the various organizations that they have worked for before they got to where you are going to? So those are some of the things that you want to look at to sort of have an idea of the culture, because indeed you may not completely know until you get inside, but you can have a
Yeah, that makes so much sense for me. I think that really helps other people understand what kind of an organization can they be a part of. Because like you said, an organization's core values, they really matter a lot. And, if you are aligned to those core values, then you as a new hire can bring so much more value to the organization. But if your heart is just not aligned, is not in it, then probably that's not the place for you. And of course, I think a lot of companies now try to imitate, the new Silicon Valley companies, and they have really nice environments and, bean bags and coffee and, unlimited food and all of that. But of course, that's part of culture. But like you said, it's also about how are you talking, or what is the kind of impression that you're giving as a brand to your new candidates, and how you're treating them? Are you getting answers to your questions? Who is the CEO? I think that research is also so important than
It is.
just, immaterial things. So,
Exactly. And even something as simple as I treated during the recruitment process. Was I kept waiting for 30 minutes? I remember when I was interviewing with the CEO, with the group managing director for Flour Mills, he was 5 minutes late, just 5 minutes late. And somebody, I'm sorry, the GMD is going to be 5 minutes late. I found that absolutely amazing. I mean, I was in cloud nine. So I mean, I happily waited for the 5 minutes, and he came on just short of 5 minutes late, and he also apologized. So I can see already that these people here are big on respect and big on how they will value people.
yeah, that makes a big difference. It might be a very small thing, but then, that speaks volumes about the organization. So
It
I think
does.
those were amazing examples for me. Thank you so much. I think, in your lifetime, and because you've been working with human resources for some time, we've gone through such a struggle with the pandemic period also, right, Bhumi? So I want to touch upon that human resources sort of gained the spotlight during the pandemic period. So what do you now think is going to be the future of work, or let's put it this way, how important of a role human resources will play, and what is the future of human resources now?
Okay, I think that in the whole value chain, the importance of how we our employees with this new reality really counts. So for example, let's even look at the beginning from the talent pipeline perspective or from the recruitment. Uh, the workspace has changed now. I mean, you just told me that you just returned back to work physically for after some time. And these little things are things that employees are now looking out for in the organizations that they are going to work for. So what kind of flexible work environment do you have? We were speaking so much about this in 2019, and then 2020 came. In 2019, we're having this conversation about the future of work, about robotics and about AI, machine learning, and all of that. And then COVID came and just flattened out everything. So COVID just fast-tracked it all, and we jumped into that future that we have been speaking about, for years. So what would you be able to offer employees, new people coming in, with regards to how your company will be structured? Do you want people to come in 9 to 5 every day? Is that something will be now compulsory, or will people have that option to say, okay, I can work 1 month in, 1 month out? Those kind of things will give your competitive advantage at the talent attraction perspective, at the talent attraction stage, or at the talent attraction phase. What sort of extras can they bring? How are you going to be performing performance reviews, for example? At the point in time when the employees come into, what kind of experience are they going to have with your organization? How is the new reality impacting on the way we work? Because working from home comes with its own set of challenges. And how is leadership helping me to cope with some of these challenges? So we're very big on a lot of recreational activities as HR, for example, for our employees. But are we now some of these recreational activities, such as gym memberships and club memberships? Are we speaking a lot more around health and wellness now? Because the mental wellness of employees and their wellness at work is now a big check. So don't just expect that I'm going to work. I had to take it. I had to take about a week off in August from work because something happened in my household, something deeply personal, and I knew that I could not focus at work. For leave, I wasn't due for time off, But I just called my boss and I told him, please, I just need Monday to Friday away to be able to focus on this issue. And it was not a problem. So nobody was telling me, oh, you are not yet due for leave. You have and so time, before you can go. There was empathy around what I was going through and the fact that I needed that time off. And somebody from employee engagement would have called me to say, oh, are you feeling better now? Just that personal touch that we are bringing to the workplace now, employees, and very simple things like empathy. Very, very simple things like empathy. And just like my situation was handled with a lot of empathy and with a lot of emotional intelligence, how do we empathize with our employees who may be struggling with maybe network issues from home, who may be struggling with having to cope with children, having to deliver at home, struggling with other errands that they are having to run, even working from home. So HR, even though if HR, yes, needs to be very, very much more humane. HR, yes, is a profession that you have to bring in your human side to, even though you're also watching out for the business and the business being profitable. But now with the pandemic, that humane side needs to show a bit more. We just really need to be so much concerned about the wellness of our people, about how well, in this new reality, and balance that really well with business outcomes and the business profitability and the eventual success of the business. So there's that fine balance now needs to be played even more delicately, by HR, just making sure that our employees have great workplace experiences.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I think that makes a lot of sense, Bunmi. After the pandemic, a lot of organizations are finally realizing that human resources is just so prime to their organizational success. And like you said, focusing on employee well-being and mental health, all of that have sort of taken center stage now more than ever, because nobody looks at you now and tells you that, hey, do you have like a problem, and I really don't care what sort of problems you have, you better show up to work and you better really do the work that I've told you. But there's more empathy, and that's what human resources now brings to the table. And it absolutely makes sense what you're saying. It has to be about empathy. It has to be more about connecting with your employees, and that leads you eventually to organizational success. So thanks for that, Bunmi. I'd also like to touch upon an interesting aspect where you have been involved in building, more effective teams, in improving workplaces, the culture around it, the, positivity, the vibe around it, and also looking at teams that are very highly engaged. So what do you think, through your career, you've learned about engaging teams, and how must one build it?
So as a leader, the very first thing you vision, and your team members must understand what your vision. For example, one of my key initiatives in my current role is to digitize some processes that are currently manual in HR operations, and to also push analytics. And so I'm having I'm having continuous conversations with my team members so that they know what is important for me as my vision and the vision for the team. That way, they are able to align their daily actions around those to me. I also was able to feed off from a conversation that I've had with my boss on what really matters to him and matters to the business for the business to see. So you have to have a vision, and your vision needs to be understood by your team members. One of the things that I learned in my previous role, and I think that my previous role, the role that I worked as a startup, it was a role where I had to learn a lot of things on, like getting into the dirt, getting into the murk, learning as you go along, because I think I wasn't really very much prepared for leadership when I got that role. I was building, I was teaching, I was training, I was also building the processes of the organization and building my team members, a lot. And for a very long time, I didn't have a lot of people who had HR experience with me on the team. So I was doing a lot of teaching whilst I was building as well. And I told you that organization grew in geometric proportion. So the learning, it was a stretch for me. And I learned a lot, especially as a leader, in my leadership styles. And one of the things that I learned was that I had to actually genuinely love the people that work with me. Like there was no other way, Aish. There is no other way. You have to love them. And I'm not saying love is all about ice cream and cupcakes and just patting people and accountable to their deliverables, but you must actually genuinely love them and be genuinely interested in them. You must in things outside of the workspace that may be important to them. So someone just had a baby. Did you show up? Did you call? What kind of conversations are you having with your team members? What are the things that are important to them? Not just personally, but also on the job, career-wise. How do they want to go? Where do they see themselves in 2 years? What are the things that are disappointing, on that current role? And what are the kind of things that they want to see? You won't be able to those information if you don't actually genuinely love them and care for them. And this was a game changer for me, Aish. It was a game changer for me because I used to be more mechanical in the way that I was engaging them. I was about, their deliverables. And I wasn't so much, I cared, but like I said, I'm an introvert. So I didn't so much get to know them, but I had to really change that. So you have to love the people that you lead, because leadership is service. And that's another thing that I say. Understand that your role as a leader, you are a leader not because you are the most intelligent person there. No, you are a leader because you have the biggest responsibility. So your responsibility is bigger than the people that you serve. And it's your role to sort of drive the people that you serve towards that grand vision. And that's really all it is. You're not any better than them. You only have a larger responsibility than they do. And that's one thing that I had to really do a 360 in the way that I leadership and what my team members are to me. So I no longer do that leadership of, oh, I'm so important. I come in with my bag and my laptop and I'm looking like the most serious person in the world, So I'm more relaxed now. I play with people completely myself and I allow my team members to be themselves, because this is even start to have genuine conversations, around your work, what you do and what means a lot to you. So I also spoke about teaching. So you must be willing to teach people, know people, invest your time in people, and what it is that you're investing in the potential of another. And you would always have different kinds of people on your team. So on my team right now, I have really brilliant people. I have those that are average, somewhere in there, and I have those that are struggling. But it doesn't mean one person is any better than the other. I just need to inspire the person that is struggling in catch up. And that I can do by continuously communicating with the person, teaching the person better ways to do their work and better ways to show up. So there must be that willingness to invest in people. You must also let people make mistakes. You must also be very forgiving about the mistakes that people will make. Yes, you're going to put in processes and systems and structures in place that will minimize mistakes. But we are humans. There's one thing that I tell people: mistakes are meant for human beings. They're not meant for anybody else but humans. And so we'll make mistakes in our personal spaces at home. We'll make mistakes on the job at work. So let's not be so people make mistakes. Let us see mistakes as learning. It is only when a particular kind of mistake is being is recurring and it continues to recur that it now becomes a problem. But a first mistake should be an opportunity to teach someone, not to beat someone, not to slap somebody on the wrist and say, okay, you got it wrong here. What have you learned? How to clean this mess up? I've cleaned up so many messes over the course of my career, especially in HR. I'm so suave at it. And now it's like, oh, that happened. Really, really. Oh, that problem happened. What do we do next? How do we solve this problem? And we move. And it's not about, I want to kill someone. Yesterday, somebody on the larger HR team still made a mistake. And I didn't see my boss calling for, all he asked for was, Bunmi, what are we doing about this error? And how are we moving on? And so, so when people see that you're not going to kill them when they make a genuine mistake, of course, they're going to be committed to your cause and they are going to grow. And of course, communication and emotional intelligence, very key. I mentioned that I'm an introvert, but I'm also choleric, and it's sort it's quite a complex personality type. But I had to unlearn. Stop saying, oh, Bunmi, this is the way you are. Oh, I say it as it is. I mean what I say what I mean. No, you don't always have to say what is on your mind, Bunmi. And if you want to say what is on your mind, can you please say it in a way, can you please say it intelligently, activating your emotional intelligence so that the impact of what you're saying on the recipient will not be so hard. And so I had to learn these things, and I had to become, almost become this other person, because I needed to be a better leader and I needed to build more effective teams. And like I said earlier on, Yemi was someone that really, really impacted me, because I learned from him that, oh, if such a high level leader can be this sort of chilled out about, why not me? My current boss is also someone that I learned from as well. Very inclusive, very, very peaceful way of just leading us towards our objectives. So I think that would be some few tips that I would say that has helped me, that I have learned from personally in building effective teams. Thank you.
Those are golden words, Bunmi. I think it's amazing that the way you put it is just really simple, but I think it really sends a very strong message of servant leadership, and you emphasize a lot on investing in people, because if you care for them, they will in turn reciprocate and give you so much more. And it's all about giving them forward feedback rather than reprimanding them all the time. It's just about trusting them enough to give room for mistakes and being okay with that. I think a lot of leaders are just not okay with anybody making a mistake, but that has to be learned. Like you said, you have to unlearn to learn. So I feel like that is just really, really important. And that makes so much sense.
Thank you.
So, Bunmi, I feel like I could talk to you for hours on so many topics, but unfortunately, this is something that we'll have to, crop down. So, I'm going to leave you with the last question, Bunmi. Is any sort of message or any sound bites that you would like to give to our audience? Any sort of, golden words that you live by?
Just be a good human, really. Just be a good human. People spend a lot of time in the workspaces and in our work. We spend so much time at work. And so the interactions that we have at work, typically we even spend more time at work than in at home, right? And so for all of us that are in the workspace or have jobs or employed, let us make our spaces, let us make where we are places that people can thrive. Let us make where we are places that people would look forward to coming to. Yes, HR has the part, that responsibility, but I always say something: change can only happen when individual commits to change. So if HR comes up, says, oh, we want to make this place a safe place to thrive. If a line manager, for example, his own team there can be toxicity in his own team. There can be toxicity in his own team. So I think that this change that we'd like to see in the workspaces must start from individuals, from one individual to another in our various interactions. How do we engage people? How do we speak to people? How do we chastise people? positive feedback, like you said, even when they have done something, wrong. So let's just be good, be a good human, and make the place where you are safe for anybody that comes in contact with you. So in any interaction, whether it's with your team members or with someone from another team that comes to meet you for some service or for some discussion or for a project, leave them with a good taste, in their mouths that, oh, I worked with Aish on this project and all she was absolutely amazing. Yes, she was big on deliverables. Yes, she was big on project timelines being met, but she did that whilst valuing, me as an individual. So I think in summary, just be good and make your space a safe space for people, for anyone at all who comes in contact with you. Thank you.